Welcome to the Tactical Games Podcast. I'm here with Nick Palacios.
I just got to say it's really cool to be here with Squints from Sandlot.
I enjoy that. Thank
Childhood hero of mine.
Yep.
He gets Steve a lot too.
He kissed a girl. Don't think that you have.
Hey, he kissed the hottest girl in that movie, actually. It's like Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville, like
If they had
married
a baby
together.
and like post meth,
It's
Steve-O.
it's like perfect.
Yeah,
It works out well.
Appreciate that.
So
All the members of Jackass just came together,
Just
ate tacos.
melded together.
But we need to tell the taco story. We're gonna tell that. I think we'll tell it later on. That'll be the end of the podcast.
Oh.
That'll be
It's a good one.
Tactical Games Podcast After Dark.
After dark.
All right, so just got back from Idaho.
It was actually a really good event, and it was very much needed. Texas was a real rough one on the team, just setup wise and just being on the road nonstop. Everybody was just kind of like at each other's throats for that setup, so it was good to have smooth setup in Idaho, and the event went really well. I think that was actually our smoothest event so far this year.
Oh, did
So-
your Texas event go not so well? Yeah.
I mean, other people had a worse event than me, but it was a rough one. But no, Rupert went really well. I think every time we've gone to that range, the events go smooth. The town always welcomes us really well, and it seems like everybody really enjoyed the event. And we'll get into the feedback about the event soon, but I really enjoyed the setup for it. I liked the program. I thought the program was really fun for the stages. We got back to some like old school kind of style tactical games events, and I think overall it was a really fun one.
Yeah, it was cool. So one of the farmers, I only got to talk to one of them from across the street, like in the area. I think he was maybe 2 or 4 doors down from
Yeah.
the actual John. Is that his name? That was cool to have him and his grandson come over, and they bought shirts and they were
Nice.
just interested in walking around and watching. And it's cool when spectators come out and observe what we're doing and get interested in it. And he loves it. He's come out the past 2 years, and
Cool.
hopefully he'll be back again next year.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's really cool. Oh yeah, I actually do remember him coming by. I think he brought his grandson.
Yeah, real little.
Jeff's kid.
Yeah, so he was like 10 or something like that, and I think he ended up buying him a like one of the T-Rex arms plate carriers. And just like, I mean, obviously he's 10, so he's not going to fit it, but it's like something you can grow into. So it's kind of cool, like one of potential future competitors. So that was awesome.
That's how we breed them.
Yeah,
Start
exactly.
by 10 years old and
Hell yeah.
get ready to go
Make
for
him
competition.
draftable.
Future military members.
Love it.
All right, so why don't you walk us through the event? What are some things that you don't think went well? What are some misses that we had?
We talked about the sled pull stage. I thought the stage overall was fun. I like the design of it. I wish we would have been able to have a longer bay to do it on, just because of I wanted to extend the carry on both ends to be longer, just to make the stimulus a little bit harder. We could have maybe added some weight to the sleds, which you and I talked about, making the sled pull a little bit harder. But had we had like a 150 or 200 yard bay, we would have been able to extend that carry to 20, maybe 30 yards on either side of the turf, making it a little bit harder, just making them work a little bit more for their shots on that. That would have been a change for me on that one in particular. I mean, we're kind of restricted on how far out we can shoot, but I think we did a good job of making the distances that we had tough and making people really have to know their holdovers on those, being on those shorter bays, working inside or outside of people's holds that they normally know. So, I think that made it challenging, which was fun. We always, I think we do a good job of adapting to whatever environment that we're in, whatever venue we're at. So I think that we did do that well. But yeah, the sled pull stage I think was fun. There's a couple of things that, we'll take back and make those adjustments too. So whenever we want to bring it back, I think we'll be able to dial it in for the next round.
Yeah, tighter targets on shorter ranges. I mean, you can do the same thing. Gil tells us that story about the miniature size BCs that he had when he was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Not gonna use it for the sport, but it's always a funny story.
So obviously, to make targets harder, you can make them smaller, and that's what we did. It was smaller, more accuracy based shots. We did get some feedback that, and I don't think I've ever heard this feedback before. It was really interesting, that the shooting outweighed the fitness on this event.
Yeah. That and somebody saying that they didn't think the 2-gun stage should have been worth 100 points, and that I can't remember, the fitness stage should have been worth 100 points. So it's like, okay, you want a stage that you didn't do well on to be worth less, and the stage that you did well on to be worth more.
So I mean, this is standard, and we talked about this earlier in the year. So We will have 4 tactical game style stages at each event that'll be worth 100 points each. We will have the shooter's aggregate and a physical floater, which have all been announced, so people can go on the website, they can see them, they can test them, they can try them all out. Those will be worth 50 points each. And then the 2-gun stage that we do and the long movement, whether it's a long run or this event we did, I say a shorter run, which is still a decent length run, those will always be worth 100 points.
Yeah.
Because you can't train for those beforehand.
Yeah.
You can get, you can get exposure to different implements. You've got an idea of some of the implements that we use. We like to use spinners a lot. We use Texas Star. We've used plate racks. We've used a lot of different kind of like different implements. But so you can't get exposure to that. You kind of have to go out and figure out what you're good at, test other things, shoot other shooting sports, and then come in prepared for whatever we're going to throw at you, just like a tactical game style stage.
For sure. And like going back to the run, like people who are good at running are going to be good at running no matter what distance it is. So like if you're going to gap somebody by 20% on a 5-mile run, you're probably going to do about the same on a 1-mile run. You know what I mean? And it's putting a lot less, no pun intended, miles on your body for the event. So it's, I don't think there's necessarily a reason to beat somebody into the ground doing a real heavy run or a long run like that. You can still get a very similar desired stimulus, like, hey, we're going to do a 1-mile run and we're going to do it for time slick, and just everybody go out and just fucking pound pavement and get back as fast as you can. So.
Yeah. And that was the case with this event. So we did a burdened run on the, on stage 1. So the Eberly stock packs had like 80 pounds in them for men's elite. So there was already a foot movement that covered about a mile.
So down and back, I think the one length was about 50 or 60 yards. So if you shot clean, which nobody ended up doing, you were doing a 100 to 120 yards every down and back for each round, being that it was 8 rounds. So you're looking at an 800 plus meter run, and then all of the penalty work, which is a shuttle run down and back. We had those set at like 10 yards one length. So down and back is 20 yards. So I mean, if you missed 5+ shots, I mean, you're adding a significant amount.
You're adding 100 meters onto there. Yeah. So
exactly.
And a lot of the people that I saw missed more in like the 8 to 10 range.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Which was super defeating. I stayed over there for a couple of different divisions, and seeing somebody like come off with like 10 or 11 misses on there, you just see them go, oh, fuck. Because they'd already done a couple rounds of it. So they see, like, as you start to fatigue, obviously your shooting is going to suffer a little bit. So seeing somebody doing like, to have to do 10 shuttle runs, which is 20 down and backs, like, you're adding a significant amount on top of the already long enough course with the ruck. So I thought that was a really fun stage.
Yeah, I thought it was good. When you and I talked about it, when we kind of came up with the idea, I was excited to see how it was going to be executed, and I think you guys did a great job in executing.
No, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
That turned out really cool. The next stage was the carry stage. I like that. That was very reminiscent of a stage that we did in like 2021 at the Range Complex. Very similar loop, just a long carry loop.
Yep.
I think we did that with plate pinches though. Anyways, it was that was cool. That was definitely like a old school tactical game style stage.
Yeah, that was just a grit stage. Like, it's about 75 or 80 yards for the whole loop.
Yeah.
I tested that, and like it was tough. It was a good amount of weight. We dialed the weight back a little bit from what we normally do for like a standard like down and back. So dropping the weight down, but adding the distance to it was fun. You definitely weren't looking forward to doing the work portion when you were done with shooting. So I really like that stage a lot.
And then stage 3.
Stage 1 was the Eberly stock shuffle. Stage 2 was the shooting aggregate, which was the pistol barricade.
Yep.
We cut fresh VTACs for that one, which was fun. I know a lot of people gave us some good feedback having the VTACs back, so it'll be cool to bring those in more regularly throughout the season now that we have a couple of those. Maybe even just make three or four more, so we have them. We can use them for regular stages as well. Saw a lot of people struggle with those as well too. I think the fastest one, I think Jacob shot it in about 23 seconds, and then you were seeing a lot of people like getting up into the 40-50 second range. Had a handful of time caps on that, so exposing some weaknesses there. Just people just either not practicing or just not used to shooting through barricades and shooting on steel. Vanessa did a really good job of saying that if you shoot the barricade, it will be a match DQ. So we saw a lot of people being like very deliberate with their shots through the ports. And happy to say that barricade did not get shot this weekend, so that was good to see it come back still in good shape after that event.
So stage 1, Everly Stock Run. Stage 2, what did we call that one? Everly Stock Shuffle.
Yeah.
Aggregate, and then the carry stage was the Ye Old Amish Foot Race.
Yeah, we named that because Paul Gross was the RO for that, and he was talking to us about living near Amish people in Pennsylvania. So
Wait, we don't want to offend any Amish people watching this podcast. So
I think you can call them. I think you can call them Amish still. I don't think that's a racial slur. But yeah, so the old Amish foot race was 3, 4 was tack 2 gun. Tack 2 gun was I mean, it looked simple, but I mean, it ate a lot of people's lunches, mine included, and it was tough. I mean, you're shooting spinners, like 2 spinners on a stage. Like usually 1 spinner is enough to like really throw a wrench for some people, but having 2 of them on there, you're seeing a lot of time caps over the weekend.
Yeah, I liked the position of the second piece of steel. So the first port had a Texas Star, and then there was a piece of steel that I saw you could shoot from that position or lean from the other position, shoot from that position. And then the spinner with the pistol, and then drop mag, and you had a stop plate, and then you carried out, and there were 5 pieces of steel that were out in the field.
Yeah, 5
from like
6 with a spinner,
from like 100 to
230
for the static steel, and then the spinner out there at what, like 80, 70?
It's like 70 and change.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah. I like that stage. I thought it was pretty good. The fastest time we saw was 52 seconds. Jacob posted his video today, punching down on Gil.
Dick.
So that was my favorite part of the weekend.
Yeah, he was like a kid in the 90s who had just gotten like a PlayStation for the first time, and he was extremely stoked. So good on you, Jacob. You beat Gil on that one.
And then he came off, and Gil was immediately like, "Congratulations, you beat the handicap guy." That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was I'm sure Gil was happy about that.
No winning. There was no winning whatsoever on that. And then for stage 5, we started the day off the next day with the run.
Yep.
Everybody went on the run. I did like the mile just as fast as people could run it.
Yeah, and Nick's Deininger smoked that. I think he was like 5 minutes 25 seconds on the run, something like that. Yeah, he was super fast, and then right behind him was Brandon Rodas.
6:25. I don't think
no,
it was
no,
5:25.
no. It was 5:20. I've got it on the slides here. It was just over 5 minutes because Brandon Rodas ran it in like 5:50 something. Like he was right behind him.
Wow.
Yeah. So he smoked the run.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sub 6-minute miles to me are very impressive.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know there's people that run marathons with like 4-minute miles, but still.
Yeah.
Sub 6-minute miles in a run.
Especially after going after day 1 and doing like the heavy ruck and all the other stages that they went through to like come out and do the run first thing in the morning.
Starting on the hill and finishing on the hill,
Yeah.
I liked a lot.
Yeah, that was fun.
Because immediately people are going to take a faster pace than what they want down that hill.
Yeah.
And then they're going to try to keep up with that. And then they're chasing rabbits like Nick.
Yeah.
And then they hit that turnaround, and then your legs turn to concrete.
Yep.
And then you see that hill that you have to finish on. And we saw a lot of people like haul ass at that hill, and then just slowly that pace just like
teeter off at the end. That was fun. And then after that they went to Inman, bread and butter stage, just heavy bags. We had a lot of issues with the 80-pound bags busting, which was a little frustrating. But luckily, I mean, we had enough to be able to get through the weekend, which was fine. But you know, that stage is always fun to watch. I always like watching the elites, you know, go out and hammer those with the big bags. So it was a fun stage. And then after that, they did the turf stage, which we were talking about. Did the Husafell stones, which are always fun to bring in. And again, you know, make some adjustments on that one and bring it back for next time.
And then the floater. The floater might have been one of the most impressive. Like, I've seen Zach Rodman do some pretty crazy things on the C2 erg. But watching Aaron start out at like a 2,900 cal pace and then hold mid 2,600, like around 2,650 for 90 seconds is
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got 64 calories on that.
Which was 90 seconds.
In 90 seconds. Yeah, and the time the score to beat prior to that was
like in the mid 50s.
Yeah, there was a guy on one of the teams actually that got 56. And like I thought that was, I mean, still that's a great score in itself, but 64 is wild.
I watched that whole crew, which was it was Kyle Martin, Nick Denninger, Hepner, Spencer, and then Aaron Clark. And they all went at the same time, and watching them, everybody beat Hepner, which made me very happy. And he came off, and again, he was like, this is it's finally, I'm beating everybody in the shooting and other people are beating me in the fitness part of this competition.
Yeah, that's I think he was saying Aaron beat him in both of the fitness only stages for the weekend, which is impressive, especially for like his first event. He's been off for over a year. Had that injury, late before nationals last year. So it was good to see him come back out, get on the podium and have a good showing.
Yeah, he's a great guy. It was awesome having him back there.
I was a little worried when I saw him take that spill on the Everly Stop stage. That was a pretty big fall, especially with 80 pounds.
Dude.
Yeah. Well, and he tried to catch up to Nick too. Like nobody's catching up to Nick in a foot race. I saw Nick trip
him actually. I'm pretty sure Nick tripped him.
Is that you push him?
Yeah.
We got it on video, so we'll share the video.
Dirty fucker.
The Wyoming boys are dirty.
All right. So there was another piece of feedback that we received. I don't know. Did I talk about this already?
No. I mean,
the penalties on the penalties on the 2-gun stage were too harsh.
I mean,
we only had a 30-second penalty for the spinners.
Yeah.
Typically, we have a minute and 30-second penalty for the spinners.
Yeah. It was very lax for that. Just Gil and I were going back and forth on it. I was thinking we should have done a minute, and he was like, "No, we'll go 30 seconds." So, I always defer to Gil because that's his wheelhouse. But
I did watch a guy. In most action shooting sports, when you're done shooting, you just say you're done shooting.
Yeah.
Right. So your time is whatever your time was when you finished. We ran into some issues with that because not a lot of people knew or understood that rule previously. So we've changed our action stages where your time finishes when all the targets are neutralized. And if you don't neutralize all the targets, you get a penalty. And if you call your stage done, then your stage is done.
Yeah.
And there was one of our competitors in men's elite had an awesome run and forgot a target, just left a target out there. And it was like a 59 or 69 second time and just left a target hanging out there.
It's a bummer.
It was a big bummer. But we've seen people that have taken advantage of a rule where they could stop the time and ended up beating other people that they shouldn't have beat.
Which isn't fair. That goes back on us to making sure that we're putting the appropriate penalties in there, so people can't just glance over a target and just be like, oh, moving on.
Exactly. So if you're wondering if you compete in the tactical games and you don't complete a shooting stage, meaning all the targets have not been neutralized, you will receive a max time cap plus any penalties associated with it.
And then we did have one piece of feedback talking about the bag weight for men's tactical, and I wanted to clarify this. So on Inman, we had up to a 200-pound bag on Inman. That was their 1 rep max bag lift for that particular stage. On the physical standards, the max bag that you can see in men's tactical will be a 200-pound bag. Conversely, the max bag that you'll see for a floater for max reps bag over bar is a 150 because you're using one bag and you're just doing as many reps as you can for time versus what you'll see on a potential stage is a 200-pound bag. So we saw somebody that was like, hey, I trained for a 150-pound bag and we used a 200-pound bag on Inman, which wasn't, which didn't correlate to what I saw on the standards. So I wanted to clear that up because I was just, somebody not reading the standards correctly.
So I'm looking at it right now. Physical capabilities for men's tactical and men's 40 plus. Bag over bar is 200 pounds at 50 inches, 5 reps consecutively.
Yeah, exactly.
Which it was 1 rep for that in that event. That was the heaviest bag.
Yeah.
The other thing was the stress carry on the stage with a pull.
Yeah.
So although that bag said 165 on the outside of it, we have crumb rubber in it.
It's actually 130.
They're 130.
Yeah. It's 130 and the 200 was 170.
170 or 175, somewhere in there. Yeah. So I know that it might have seemed like the bags were heavier, but we definitely did everything on standard and on par with our published standards because that's something we take very seriously and want to make sure we're adhering to so people can physically prepare for the events before they come out. So
absolutely.
Just wanted to clarify that. All right. What else you got?
Vetting, as far as testing stages, I tested.
I'm very curious to hear how this went.
Yeah. Well, vetting day was fun. That was actually the smoothest vetting setup that we've done. I think we were done by like noon. I think we were done. So we were able to get all the stages vetted and knocked out by noon, made all the adjustments that we needed to. So that made Thursday go really smoothly for us. Started off testing the shuffle stage. Tori and I vetted that, and we tested it 2 ways. We were initially, I did it with 10 rounds, and each round you're swapping weapon systems. So you shoot rifle first round, and then you move into pistol the next round. Timing on that didn't work out well enough. I think by like 9 minutes, I was on like round 5, so we weren't able to make that timing work. And then Tori tested it where we did I think he was going for 5 rounds, which is what we ended up in for the event, where you shoot both weapon systems at a time. So that stage was fun. It was good to throw in some extra weight on those rucks, and those rucks held up really well. And I was worried once when Aaron took that spill, because he fell kind of on his like right shoulder and then rolled on top of the bag. I was worried that dry bag was going to rip, but it held out really well. We had a couple extra dry bags just in case they were going to rip, and those things held up all week, and we didn't even have to swap any out.
We beat the shit out of those.
Yeah.
That's why I'm wearing an Everly stock shirt. I was really proud of how well those bags.
No, it was great, man. It was awesome to use those rucks. I know we've had a couple of some negative feedback on rucks that we've used in the past. So it was cool to bring in just a different option for us for that event and be able to really hammer some weight in.
Well, they're structured, right? So they've got a frame to them. So typically we would use our Go rucks for any of the longer movements, but that has a frame in it, so we could add a little bit more weight. And I feel like having that frame in there definitely helps support the weight of something heavier like that. It's for that 80-pound bag. Can we talk about? I got there, and Paul Gross was running his mouth.
He didn't let me forget it all weekend.
No, he didn't. So what happened?
Paul beat me on the 2-gun stage and the barricade stage, and
is that why he has Paul 2, Nick 0?
That's exactly. That's exactly why. Yeah. Yeah, I've since adopted Paul. He is now my son, and he looks up to me so heavily. He's just, he really just wants to just be like me. So
we did get offered Timmy again. I think we're gonna end up taking Timmy.
We're getting close. We're getting negotiations are still in the works, and it's working in our favor. So I think we're gonna end up getting Tim by the end of the year. But yeah, so Paul beat me by about 2 or 3 tenths of a second on the barricade stage. Be fair, I was actually using a holster. He wasn't. He was using a honcho, but whatever. And then he beat me on the 2-gun stage. So
I wasn't. I wasn't there. This. I was at Sig Sauer all week for their next event, playing with guns while you guys were working really hard.
It looked like fun.
Yeah, it was like those things can be draining just because you're like from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed, whatever time that is. It's like constant engagement.
It's your social battery is depleted because you're working all day. So
I did get to shoot their 211 though.
It looked like it's a badass pistol.
It was a very badass pistol. I was very, very impressed by that. So I was thinking about this last night, like how would you rank this pistol? And like the honcho is a different level of gun.
Yeah.
Right. You're talking about like a $9,000 to $12,000 price point. Ridiculous. Like not everybody. That's a reach for most people. Yeah. When you get into the like custom 2011, where you're looking at like maybe an H-Tac Pro or like Hayes or something like that, where you're in that like $5,000 to $7,000 price point. Those are, again, still, you're like, it's a pretty expensive gun.
Oh yeah.
When you're in that, like this was at $2,400, $2,300, incredibly impressive for that price point.
Yeah.
If somebody's in the market in that price range, that's definitely the gun that I would recommend. We're going to have a couple of them, so we're going to be able to run them and really put them to their paces this year. And I think we'll do some stuff on this afterwards to kind of show. Maybe we'll just have you shoot a striker fired and I'll shoot a hammer fired, and we'll see who wins.
See how it goes. I haven't put my tallies together, but I think I'm winning on the leaderboard there with you. But
I don't know. I'm winning on the lead. I've been competing way longer than you, so I've definitely won more than you.
We'll go back to practice score and see where we're at for scores for the matches that we've shot together. But
matches that we've shot together.
Yeah.
What matches have we shot together?
We've shot a good amount of action shooting matches together.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even like hanging out with you.
We'll go back to practice score. We'll post the scores here soon.
What else want to talk about?
No, man. Overall it was a fun event. I know parking was a little bit hectic there for everybody. But I mean, aside from that,
well, so parking, we had the option of using the stage that we shot the 2-gun stage at for parking, or using it for a 2-gun stage.
That's right. Yeah.
And we took the 2-gun sage. I mean, like we could have done a 2-gun stage over on the Cowboy action shooting bays, which would have been 25-yard bays, so significantly shorter.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was worth it. I think, although parking was a bit hectic, getting to the event for some people, I mean, you're talking about the longest walk that anybody had was maybe 800 yards.
Yeah. I mean, from the 2-gun area to where the bays were, I know it was a pain in the ass for a lot of people who didn't get to park like down in the main parking lot, but when it comes to putting on the best event we can versus like letting people park on that parking pad, it was an easy decision to make.
Yeah.
So
I like your hat.
Thanks. Tactical Games makes it.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Probably pick that up on the website.
But yeah, so let's get into scores for the weekend.
All right. So starting out with one of my favorite competitors. I think Leslie is freaking awesome.
She's super sweet. She came up to me after the event, after awards, and she was very complimentary about the event and just like getting recognition in her class. So it was cool to see her come out and put on a good performance in her division, in her class. We had I think we had 7 or 8 women in the 50 plus category this weekend.
Yeah, maybe it was 5, but yeah, somewhere around there.
I thought we had a little bit more. But
Leslie's a Marine Corps veteran. She's just all around awesome. So she I think her first match was our sniper challenge in Montana, and she's been competing whenever she can since then. So congrats, Leslie, on qualifying for nationals in 50 plus and being out there for that. Looks like. So these scores again are based on her placement relative to the women's 40 plus division.
Yeah.
And from that we extrapolate the scores for the women's 50 plus based on ranking and points for the 40 plus division. So looks like her best finish was in the floater.
Yeah.
So she crushed the physical floater and ye old Amish foot race too.
Yeah.
Finished 4th in that. Didn't do terrible in any of the other ones, but definitely those two gained her enough points to keep her up. Because that 91.86, that's a good bit of points right there, and then the 80 points on the floater as well. She did pretty good on those 2 stages.
Yeah, she was really consistent. She didn't really get. I mean, the shooting aggregate and the run. But aside from that, I mean, she was kind of right up there as far as her finishes go. It wasn't a huge gap between first and where she finished, so she had a good performance that weekend.
Nice. All right, let's go next one. Kim Herron. Kim Herron's awesome too. Her and Bobby.
Sweet. Yeah, her and Bobby are great.
Yeah, great humans.
Bobby was asking me how fast I thought he was going to run in, and I told him like sub 9 minutes, and he looked at me. He's like, "Come on, man." I think he ended up running in like 7 or 8, between 7 and 8 minutes, somewhere around there. He did really good on the run.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. 3rd place in the shooters aggregate here, so she did really well there. 3rd place in TAC 2 gun. Looks like she didn't finish the 2 spinners, but other than that, neutralized everything else that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Good finish in Inman, good finish in Turf Wars. Same thing on the run. She held consistent. I mean, she's definitely like in that, I would say average is around 85%, which secured her a 2nd place in the 50 plus. It's good. Good job, Kim. Next up.
And then we'll got 1st place in women's 50 was Tara, but I've got her in like her actual division.
Somebody had to complain about this too, that people were able to podium in 2 separate divisions, when in actuality, these are classes. So if somebody is 60 years old and they finish in the top 3 in the 50 plus division, we're going to give them both prizes.
Yeah, they deserve it for sure.
They've been around the earth long enough that they deserve it.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, this is the first event since we've started that at the beginning of the season where we actually had 2 people podium in both their main division and then in the class as well too. So that was really cool to see.
Roger, 60 plus division, went out there, absolutely smashed it. He again, this is relative to the men's 50 plus division. Roger had a great performance. He was smiling the whole weekend. He was happy. He ran up to receive his award, which I thought was
he started with the little hobble there,
and then he ran up to finish it. So great job, Roger. Who do we have next? Robert Boyd, another mixed men's 60 plus division. Good TAC 2 gun finish. Spinner ate a lot of people's lunches, both.
Yeah.
If you haven't yet, I would definitely find a spinner and get some exposure to that. Remember, we put some caveats out there about that it can be a dangerous implement. Make sure you have adequate STZs whenever you're shooting at that. Make sure you know what's behind it, because it's definitely one that when at an angle, bullets can skip off of. So make sure it's well protected, but get some exposure to it if you can.
Inman, he did really well on also.
Oh yeah, 3rd place finish in the men's 50 plus division. That looks like that was 21 misses, so probably related to that, and a good time. Good time finish too, under 10.
Who we got next?
Yeah. Mike Griswold.
He's just in a good mood all weekend. He was really stoked awesome. All weekend.
So this is another example, or one of the examples that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
3rd place in men's 50 plus, 1st place in men's 60 plus.
Yeah.
Smashed the TAC 2 gun stage, smashed the Eberly Stock shuffle stage, Turf Wars. He was out there beating up on guys that were 50 years old, and Mike's in his early 60s, mid 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome dude. Didn't do super well on the floater with 31 calories, but did well on the run. I mean, really, he did really good in all of these stages across the board. Very impressive. Shot well. 27 misses on turf wars, 30 misses on Inman, and 41 misses on Amish foot races. So good job. Second place,
The judge taking second place. Him and David are awesome. I'm glad that they came out and did another event together.
So funny thing. So I talked to Lawrence, and he was at Reno was the match that he competed in, and he came up to me and jokingly was like, "I'm never doing this again. This was awful." and it was so I kind of thought he was half serious. Like he got goaded into coming out.
Yeah.
He came back and absolutely smashed it, man. He did really, really good. And he was another one, smiling all the time. It seemed to be really enjoying himself. So 613 points, beat some very, very good shooters that they had out there. A lot of first place finishes. It looks like day one kind of ate his lunch, because I think these guys probably would have started on the second half, but he's got a first, a second, a first, and a first finish on the first four stages, and then just kind of Inman, turf wars, and then the run and the floater kind of ate him up a bit.
Yeah, you can see where he puts more of his training into the shooting, but again, he's a newer competitor in the sport, but still came out with a second place finish. So, but the Eberly Stock Shuffle, he finished that stage where a lot of guys in that division did not finish that stage. So, kudos to him for being able to ruck all that weight and shoot well on it as well too.
Yep. David June. Close. So I think about a 21, 22 point difference between these two scores.
Mm-hmm.
David's awesome. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah. He's just really, he had a lot of good positive feedback from going into Reno. Talked to him a couple of times, and Reno was his first event. So like, he's very much excited to be a competitor in the sport now, and there's definitely a new guy in the 50 plus division to give these guys a run for their money.
He beat a sick John Murray, but he beat John Murray in Reno.
Mm-hmm.
And he 16 misses on turf wars, 13 misses on Inman, 19 misses on ye old Amish foot race. Finished every stage, it looks like, with the exception of the TAC-2 gun stage where he didn't get the spinners. I mean, he had a pretty good. And Eberly Stock Shuffle. He looks like he had one lap not complete, like he didn't make it back to the start finish line.
Yeah.
But man, kudos, great job, David.
There's Tara.
Let's talk about Tara. What do you got?
So she took third in women's 40 plus and first in women's 50 plus. Had a really good, consistent showing all weekend.
She crushed the aggregate.
She did really good on the aggregate. She did great on TAC-2 gun as well too. Same thing, having a little bit of issue with the spinners, but still was able to put on a good performance all weekend. Did great on the turf war stage. Looks like she only had 15 misses there. And this is just good for other people just that are newer in the sport to really see how your shooting levels out your score at the very, your final score, showing what your final is versus what those misses on the shooting side does to your final score. So just something to note for people that are newer in the sport. Looks like the floater was a little bit tough for her. That was her lowest finish of the weekend, but aside from that, did really well.
Well, Cole, your for females, calorie output on ergs I don't want to say easy. It's different than what men are doing. And she was rowing against some women that probably just have better power output than her. But on everything else, man, she did really, really well. Good job, Tara. Tamaraki, what a beast, man.
Yeah, she smoked it all weekend, dude. Fifth place was her lowest finish, but every other stage she was first to fourth place, and really didn't lose a lot of ground. Even when she finished fourth on the aggregate, she lost, 27 points there, and everything else she was very, very close to whoever finished first in her division on those stages. So,
and if you look at it, I think raw time, she probably beat just about every other woman that was out there.
Yeah.
But where she got eaten alive were her misses.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
35 misses on turf wars, 35 misses on Inman, 31 misses on ye old Amish foot race. So those obviously that's a big number. It's hard to overcome. But she got great finish time. So she did very well there and crushed the run. She won the run in her division too. All right, next one. The hammer.
Christy Watson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first place finishes. Super dominant this weekend. Took first in the Eberly Stock Shuffle, first in the Amish foot race, first in Inman, first in turf wars, first in the floater. Man, she hammered it this last weekend.
She can row, man.
Yeah.
She can output
She's tall. I mean,
power.
she's taller, so she's able to get more power output on those, which is always gonna be advantageous for you when you're working on C2 machines. Has a little bit of work to do on some shooting. Had 33 misses on the foot race, 28 and 22 misses on Inman and turf wars. But again, overall, just a super dominating performance. 651 total match points for her for the weekend.
She also helps Sean Nelson with the Minnesota skirmish.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to go out in that area in the Midwest and you want to get to a skirmish, Christy's out there doing great stuff with Sean at the Minnesota skirmish.
Yep. And then 40 plus is up next. Jason took 621 on the run, dude. That's a fucking great run.
Oh yeah, first place in the 40 plus. 621 is baller.
Yeah, that's a good mile. It's a good mile. And not on flat ground either.
Turf Wars, won Turf Wars.
Yep, 24 misses there. Took 6th on Emin, had 32 misses. That definitely didn't do him any service, but was able to hold strong for the rest of the weekend. Still only lost 20 match points on that between 1st and 6th place. So that was a tight race on Inman.
He did, like, if you look at Tac 2 Gun, he got gapped on Tac 2 Gun. 44% finish.
Yeah.
Not finishing the spinner. When you're talking about a stage that is probably somebody in his division finished in like 60 to 70 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not capable of finishing a stage like that in a shooting and fitness event, it would be like if you stopped on a rower.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so where somebody else rode 60 calories and you just stopped.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And when you're mixing the two, the shooting and the fitness together, they need to be equitable and they need to be even. And this demonstrates that. So although he finished 3rd, he got 44 points off of that stage. So he dropped 55 points on that stage.
And we've said it a lot, like going out and going and competing in other shooting disciplines to really like bring everything together like that. Cause the 2-gun stages, the shooting only stages are really where you can gap people in an event. Like being able to take 60 points on top of somebody like that in a shooting only stage can completely change your weekend depending on where you're at.
Yeah. So, all right, we're talking now about Rose's friend, Kamal Salem. You know exactly who that is.
Taking 2nd in men's 40 with 586 match points. Stayed extremely consistent. Had a lot of 2nd place finishes. Had a 1st place on the aggregate with 29 seconds, which was a good finish. Stayed around 22 to 28 misses on the TAC game stages that we had for the weekend, which is great. That was below the average. I was putting these together, and a lot of the averages that you were seeing for people on the podium and just people outside of the podium was like somewhere around like the 30 to 40 misses in that range on there. So, being able to drop down below 30 misses on these stages definitely helped them out a lot.
You've also got did not shoot the spinner on the rifle, I'm sure. 53.56 points there. So his score is 586.03. Let's see how that spinner affected him. Let's go to the next one, Ro. Yeah,
James Kling.
You've got your opportunity right there just in getting that spinner over. James did neutralize the spinner, 100 match points here, gapped the next closest person, it looks like, in 2nd place by I think like 45 points is what we said. So 45 points is pretty much the difference between 1st and 2nd here. So that made a big difference in his weekend. And
for sure,
James did well on Inman and did well on Tac 2 Gun. Did well in the aggregate. He was within 3%, within a match point and a half of the 1st place winner. Eberly Stock, he was at 15% off the winner, so 15 points off the winner. Turf Wars, even with the 3rd place finish, he was still within 5 points.
Yeah.
The floater got him a bit, but he only gave up like 10 points there, 10.5 points there.
Yeah,
and the run he held up with some of the best, dropped about 19 points there with a 7:47 run for that mile.
And that was his first place finish in his division, so I was happy to see him
by like the thinnest margins. I think the thinnest margin I've ever seen was Gill in 2022 at the national championship over Britton Morris.
Yeah.
And he won by like 0.01%.
Yeah.
It was the closest we've ever seen, but that's happened to James a few times. Congratulations on finally getting that 1st place finish.
Women's TAC, Kelsey Decker with 531 match points. Again, nothing too crazy on her performance as far as like outliers, but again, staying consistent on on the stages throughout the weekend. The misses is what really killed her this last weekend. Having 48 and 47 misses on Inman and Turf Wars, that's it's a significant amount of misses to have on those stages. But aside from that, held strong throughout the weekend, was able to secure that third place finish.
And Kelsey is sister to the one and only Danny. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did not actually.
No, you didn't know that? It's Danny's sister.
I know her sister competes, but I've actually never met her before. So
it's Danny. This was a surprise, I think, for Jordan. So Jordan came in, and there was no other women's elite competitors in this match.
Yeah.
It was for females, one of the lowest attended matches that we've had for female competitors.
Yeah.
So Jordan came out, and her and I talked a little bit beforehand, and what I expressed to her was like, hey, this is an opportunity for you to train. So why don't you focus on shooting as best as you can? Like, slow down on the fitness and see how you can perform in the shooting. And it looks like she did pretty well as far as the shooting goes. 38 misses on Turf Wars, only 10 misses on Inman, which is very good.
Yeah.
15 misses on Yule Amish Foot Race. But again, Tac 2 Gun just ate her lunch. It looks like here, and
lost 50 points on that stage.
Yeah,
which is
Turf Wars is
massive.
another one. But other than that, you've got a first place finish on the run. She crushed the run. 90, we'll call it 92% on floater, 99.17% on Inman. So basically, you lost less than a point on that one.
Yeah.
50 points on Tac 2 Gun. That's a big, and Turf Wars, 25. You've got 75 points between Tac 2 Gun and Turf Wars that she missed out on. Yeah. So let's go over to the first place. You've got Bailey, who crushed it.
Yeah. I've started to really enjoy post event when her and Jason compete, because Jason shows the trophy wall, and you've got Bailey's trophies, and then you've got his hand drawn trophies, which are fucking
place, 8th place, 6th place, 9th place.
Fucking hilarious. He's got a good disposition for it. But she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first place finishes, a second, a third, and a 4th place finish on the aggregate. And even on the 4th place finish on the aggregate, she only lost 22 points.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, 6 points.
So you've got 100, 100, 100, 100. Yeah, she did very, very well. This was an awesome performance, Bailey. Great job. 679.97, 20 points off of a perfect score. I mean, that's very impressive. Good job.
Ryan Foley,
Ryan Foley
back in action. He told me he had not shot since nationals, leading up to the skirmish that we did at the beginning of the month, and it was June 7th, and it was cool to see him come back out, and I think he was in like 7th or 8th place after Saturday.
Oh wow!
So he was able to climb up the leaderboard and put on a good performance for the weekend. I was stoked to see him on the podium again. The Tac 2 Gun stage, he did well on. Ended up getting an 80-second finish time on there. Only lost 11 points on that stage, so he stayed tough on it all weekend and was able to secure that 3rd place, which is awesome.
The 31st place finish on the run and getting 80% is pretty good.
Yeah. It's super tight.
802 is a great run. I mean, that's awesome. That really stock shuffle, it looks like he got his ass kicked a little bit on that, but other than that, you're at like 90% for Tac 2 Gun, 90% for Inman, almost 95% for Turf Wars, and 91% for the floater. So even though his placement didn't look great, he was still staying consistent with the rest of the field in those stages.
Yeah, because when he did take a lower finish, like he was not far off from losing a ton of points on those. So, that was able to keep him on the podium.
All right, who we got next?
Derek Edelman. 2 first place finishes on the shuffle and
this dude, I was breaking his balls. This dude stayed in arbitration.
Did he really?
No, he was in there just checking stuff out. I mean, he was definitely he was curious about his scores, and I think this maybe was his first time competing.
Yeah.
But he definitely wanted to know what was going on, and that's cool. I like when people take interest in their performance and what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you a better competitor knowing how the scoring system works. Yeah. So it's good on him for learning that.
On the run, great run score. Looks like won the aggregate and the shuffle. So anything that had running in it, he did well in. All right, who we got next?
Daniel Best.
Daniel competes a lot.
He's a shooter, man.
Yeah,
that guy shoots really, really well.
Yeah.
Took first place on Tac 2 Gun, 71-second finish, shooting aggregate. He ended up took 12th on that, which is really surprising. But only lost 9 points on that. So, shoot.
Not crazy. Turf Wars did really well. Great finish. A lot of misses, but overcame that, looks like, with an 8-17 finish on Turf Wars.
Yeah.
Might have been a little bit light on that stage.
Yeah, a little bit. They were doing the one. That was the one. Yeah, the 130 bag.
Yeah.
Nick Deininger back on the podium. Absolutely crushed the run. 5:42. So my mistake. It was 5:42, not 5:25.
That's incredibly impressive.
So fast.
5:42 is very impressive.
I stand by my statement from Reno. He is the fastest kid alive.
Yeah, that's very, very good.
Got 54 calories on the floater, which is he and Kyle tied. I think Jacob got 53. Spencer got like 56 or 54.
Yeah.
So did a damn good job all weekend. Didn't really miss too much. I mean, Amish foot race and turf wars, he missed 20.
So you got like 53 misses total on paper that he had for the weekend.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
He took third place on Inman and still lost. He got 86 match points on that one, so he lost 14 points on that.
Aaron Clark shot the hell out of that stage.
He did really, really
he
well
shot
on that.
really well. I was very impressed.
This is the Zev rifle.
And the Zev pistols. That's what it is. It's got to be the Zev.
Shameless plug.
All right, let's go on. Speak
Aaron
of the
Clark.
devil. He would probably hate that. Speak of the Aaron. Ye old Amish foot race. 9 misses. 8:30 in the finish. Tac 2 gun. Got eaten alive on Tac 2 gun. Still finished second place.
Yep.
So he dropped, let's call it 67 points on Tac 2 gun, right?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. 67
Which is
points.
super surprising. I would not have expected that. But you know, I mean, still, I mean, when he did well, he did very.
It was
very
the
well.
spinner. It was the rifle spinner.
Yeah.
I think maybe just hasn't had exposure to that and
Yep.
got eaten alive on that rifle spinner.
Well, and you saw there was 2 ways to shoot that rifle array. It was either they shot the spinner first and then either flipped it or didn't. And if you didn't, then you take all the misses on the static steel, or the guys that had the better program, they went and did all the static steel first and then finished up on the spinner. So it's like there's potential of 50 seconds of penalties versus the 30-second penalty on the spinner. So shoot all the static steel, it's a lesser of 2 evils. So you're saving yourself 20 seconds there on that run. But
Yeah, I mean, if you're confident in your ability to do it, the faster way would be to shoot the spinner first and then move to the steel, because theoretically, while the spinner is still moving, you could be going on to the other steel and
Yeah.
not waiting for the RO to call over.
Yeah.
But I guess you would probably get last shot fired on that anyway. So.
yeah.
All right, let's see who's our winner. Look at that. Can we go back real quick 1 second? All right, so we're talking about 610. Go ahead, go back to 610 to 654.
664.
664. Sorry.
But that's
53 points.
had Aaron cleared that stage had cleared the TAC 2 gun, he would have closed that gap significantly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because you're talking about almost 70 points. Good job, Jacob. You beat somebody in a shooting stage and won the match. That was what won the match for him for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And his first match back this year.
Took 100 match points on that one. I can't remember who took second on that, but I'd be curious to know what the gap time or the gap in points was between first and second on that.
Turf Wars, great finish. Inman, great finish. I mean, Jacob's a monster. It's clear here.
Little monster.
He's like little monsters. It's funny because he's short, very small.
It took everything in me not to keep his photo small on the graphics here. But I didn't want to do you dirty like that, man. You had a good performance.
Great job, Jacob. Welcome back. It's good to have you out there competing this year. Glad you're back. Glad the whole men's elite team field was awesome. The event, I had a great time watching the event, watching people go out there and compete.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the weekend?
No, just like I said, man, it's a long drive, but it's always good to get out west. You know, the drive is pretty, especially once you get out of Texas. So Ro had a little bit of a rough go at it coming home.
Ro had a day,
poor
a night,
poor Ro.
another day.
But the trailers made it back, so that's all that matters.
We're here, we're safe, we're all back.
Yep.
Teams back together again.
Yep. Got a little bit of rest, got a little bit of a break in between now and Iowa. So.
Do you want to tell the taco eating story? No, I guess that's like an embarrassing story.
I don't know if I can do that on camera.
You know, one day we're gonna have somebody demonstrate.
We'll just have Paul go over it again.
Yeah, I think Paul demonstrating to us how he ate tacos.
Ask Paul Gross how he likes to eat tacos, and you guys will understand for yourselves.
Yeah. So if you see Paul Gross at the next match that he ROs or competes at, ask him how he eats tacos.
He'll be in Iowa.
There we go.
So if you guys want to know how he eats tacos, July's your chance.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. We look forward to talking to you again, and we'll see you guys in Iowa.
See you guys.